The chamber was enormous, built to hold representatives from 100 different worlds. Crystalline walls stretched upward into darkness, and the air hummed with translation devices working in dozens of languages at once. Taemin sat at the human delegation table, his hands folded calmly on the smooth surface. He had sat in this same spot for 3 years now, attending meeting after meeting, always hoping the next one would be different. Ji-won sat beside him, her military uniform crisp and perfect. She was his advisor, his friend, and the person who understood better than anyone how these talks were really going. She watched the alien delegates with sharp eyes, reading their body language, listening to the words they chose. 3 years had taught her exactly what humanity was dealing with. The council speaker stood at the center platform. His name was Velmoth, a tall creature covered in blue and silver feathers. His species had been in space for over 10,000 years, and he never let anyone forget it. Around him sat representatives from 40 other civilizations. The Hive Collective sent their insectoid diplomat, Krisha, whose compound eyes glittered in the chamber lights. The Talon Imperium had 3 delegates present, all of them watching the humans with barely concealed suspicion. Taemin had given humanity's presentation that morning. He had shown them everything humans had contributed to the galaxy in just 50 years of contact. Medical breakthroughs that saved billions of lives across 20 species. Navigation charts through dangerous space that cut travel time by half. Agricultural techniques that ended famines on 7 worlds. Military strategies that helped defeat the Scourge Raiders in the outer sectors. The list went on, and still, they said no. Velmoth cleared his throat, a sound like wind through grass. The Council has reviewed your petition once again. We acknowledge humanity's contributions. However, we cannot grant full membership at this time. Humanity is still too new to the galactic community. Too unpredictable. Too dangerous. The word dangerous hung in the air. Taemin had heard it 1,000 times. Humans were dangerous because they asked questions. Dangerous because they innovated too quickly. Dangerous because they refused to accept that things had to stay the way they had always been. Krisha clicked her mandibles. We have prepared a compromise. Humanity may continue participating in council activities under supervised status. However, we require certain assurances. A document appeared on the screen above the chamber. Taemin read it slowly, feeling Ji-won tense beside him. Genetic monitoring of all human populations. Restrictions on human military expansion. Limits on human colony growth. Technology sharing agreements that went only one direction. And at the bottom, a clause that made his blood run cold. Humans would submit to council oversight in all matters of science, exploration, and defense. You want us to become subjects, not partners, Taemin said quietly. Velmoth spread his wings slightly. We want you to prove you can be trusted. In time, perhaps in another century or 2, we can revisit full membership. But for now, these terms are non-negotiable. Around the chamber, other delegates nodded. Some looked uncomfortable, but none spoke up. Taemin recognized a few faces that he had thought were friends. The Drexian delegate who had praised human medicine when it saved his child. The Quellan scientist who had worked side by side with human researchers. None of them met his eyes now. Ji-won leaned close and whispered, We saved their lives. We shared everything we had, and this is how they repay us. Taemin stood up slowly. The movement caught everyone's attention. The chamber grew quiet. He reached down and picked up his datapad, then carefully gathered the papers in front of him. Ji-won stood as well, following his lead. The other 4 members of the human delegation rose from their seats. Ambassador Taemin, Velmoth said, the council requires your response. Taemin looked around the chamber one last time. He saw species that humanity had helped. Worlds that would be darker without human contributions. Civilizations that owed their survival to human intervention. And he saw fear. They were afraid of what humanity might become. So afraid that they would rather cage humanity than embrace it. We came to these talks with open hearts, Taemin said. His voice was calm, but it carried to every corner of the chamber. We offered friendship. We offered partnership. We shared our knowledge freely, never asking for anything but respect in return. For 3 years, we have sat in this chamber and listened to you tell us we are not good enough, not old enough, not trustworthy enough. We have proven ourselves again and again. And still, you ask for more proof. He picked up his briefcase. You call us dangerous because we challenge your comfortable traditions. You call us unpredictable because we solve problems you claimed were unsolvable. You call us too new. But age does not grant wisdom. It only grants stubbornness. When the planned, Velmoth's feathers ruffled. Ambassador, if you reject these terms, humanity will be excluded from council protection and resources. We understand perfectly, Ji-won said, stepping forward. Her voice was harder than Taemin's, carrying 3 years of frustration. You want us to beg. You want us to accept scraps from your table and be grateful. You want us to forget that we are your equals in every way that matters. We will not do that. Humanity does not beg for respect. It has already earned. Quote, 200. She looked at Krisha, then at Velmoth, then at all the other delegates who had voted against humanity time after time. You made your choice. Now, we make ours. Taemin began walking toward the exit. Ji-won followed, and the rest of the delegation fell in behind them. Their footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. No one tried to stop them. No one called them back. The massive doors opened automatically, and the humans walked through without looking back. Behind them, chaos erupted in the chamber. Delegates shouted at each other in a dozen languages. Velmoth called for order, but no one listened. The Drexian delegate stood up, reaching toward the closing doors, but it was too late. In the corridor outside, Taemin allowed himself a moment of emotion. His hands shook slightly as he held his briefcase. Ji-won put a hand on his shoulder. It's done, she said quietly. We're done here. Taemin nodded. He activated his communicator and sent a single message to Earth. 3 words that would change everything. Begin the withdrawal. Within hours, every human ambassador in galactic space received the same order. Recall all personnel. Close all joint facilities. End all cooperative programs. Humanity was going home, and this time, they were not coming back. Hyun-woo stood in his laboratory for the last time. Around him, equipment hummed and beeped, monitoring experiments that had taken years to develop. He had worked here for 5 years, collaborating with alien scientists on xenobiology research that promised to revolutionize medicine across the galaxy. The Quellan researchers he worked with had become friends. They ate lunch together, shared jokes, complained about bureaucracy together, but none of them had spoken up at the council. None of them had defended humanity when it mattered. He pulled out a data stick and began downloading his personal research. Not the shared work, not the collaborative studies, just his own notes, his own insights, his own breakthroughs, the discoveries that came from his human perspective, from asking questions that his alien colleagues never thought to ask. It took an hour to copy everything. When he was done, he initiated the deletion protocol for everything else. His communicator buzzed. It was his Quellan colleague, Vess. Hyun-woo, what are you doing? I just got an alert that you are erasing our project files. Following orders, Hyun-woo said simply. All human personnel are withdrawing from joint projects, but our work, the cure for Skelton's plague, we are so close to a breakthrough. Then you will have to finish it without me. Hyun-woo watched the deletion progress bar climb. 60%, 70%. You wanted humans supervised and restricted. You got your wish. We are going home. I did not vote for that. I argued against it. Did you? Hyun-woo asked. Did you refuse to participate until humanity was treated fairly? Or did you just complain quietly to your friends while going along with everything? Silence on the other end. The progress bar hit 100%. Decades of shared research. Gone. Hyunwoo picked up his bag and walked out. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out thousands of times. Human scientists packed their equipment and deleted their contributions. Research projects ground to a halt. Medical facilities closed. Engineering teams abandoned construction sites. The humans had built so much, supported so much, and now they took it all away. Daun managed Station Meridian, a massive trading hub in the neutral zone between 3 different territories. The station hosted representatives from 60 species and processed millions of tons of cargo every week. Half the station's critical systems ran on human-designed software. The navigation computers used human algorithms. The medical bay used human equipment. Even the air recycling system had been upgraded by human engineers. She stood in the control center, watching cargo ships arrive and depart. Her crew of 40 humans worked their stations. Professionals doing their jobs one last time. The station's alien administrator, a nervous Drexian named Poles, stood beside her. "You cannot just leave," Poles said. "The station will not function without your systems." "Sure it will," Daun replied. "Everything will keep running. For a while. Until something breaks down. Until a software update is needed. Until the next system failure. Suitor and clown. But you maintain everything. You designed half of this station, and we offered to share that knowledge freely. We offered to teach your people how our systems work. But your council decided humans needed to be controlled first." Daun pulled up the evacuation schedule on her screen. "My people leave in 3 hours. I have sent you all the basic operation manuals. The rest, you will have to figure out yourself. This is insane. You are punishing everyone for the council's decisions." Daun turned to look at him. "No, Poles. We are respecting their decisions. They said humanity is too dangerous to participate freely. So we are not participating at all. They wanted us gone. Now we are leaving. The ships came for them exactly on schedule. Human personnel from 1,000 stations, labs, hospitals, and facilities boarded transport vessels and headed home. They left behind gaps that would take years to fill, if they could be filled at all. Ralk was a merchant, a reptilian trader who had built his fortune on human trade routes. Humans had explored and mapped dozens of shortcuts through dangerous space, paths that cut travel time and avoided pirate territories. They shared these routes freely with anyone who asked. Ralk's cargo company had grown wealthy using these safe passages. He arrived at Way Station 7, expecting to refuel and load new cargo. Instead, he found the docking bay, sealed. A message played on repeat. "This facility is closed. All human operations in this sector have ceased. Please seek services elsewhere." Ralk tried to contact the station administrator. No response. He tried alternate stations along his route. All closed. In a panic, he plotted a course using the old routes, the ones they used before humans arrived. His navigation computer warned him the journey would take 3 times longer and pass through territory known for pirate activity. He had no choice. He began the long, dangerous journey, cursing the Council with every light year. Admiral Bora commanded humanity's 3rd Fleet, stationed in the Outer Rim as part of the defense agreement against Scourge raiders. Her ships had fought alongside alien forces for years, protecting colonies and trade routes. She had friends among the other fleet commanders, officers she had trained with and fought beside. Now she received orders to withdraw all human military forces from galactic space. No exceptions. No delays. Her communication officer looked up from his station. "Admiral, we are receiving a distress call from the Talon colony on Brecca 4. Scourge raiders are attacking. They are requesting immediate assistance." Bora closed her eyes. She knew that colony. 40,000 civilians. Families. Children. Her fleet could be there in 2 hours. "Send them our regrets," she said quietly. Tell them we are under orders to withdraw and cannot engage. But Admiral, I know, Bora snapped. Then, more gently, I know, but humanity is no longer welcome in galactic affairs. If we respond, the Council will claim we are interfering. They wanted us gone. They got their wish. She turned to her helmsman. As her fleet jumped away, she listened to the colony's desperate calls for help fade into silence. 3 other alien fleets were in range. None of them responded either. Without human tactical support and coordination, they had no confidence they could win. The colony fell in 6 hours. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Medical emergencies went untreated because human doctors had left. Trade collapsed because human routes were sealed. Defenses failed because human strategies were gone. Pirates and raiders grew bolder. Disputes that humans had mediated turned into conflicts. And in the council chamber on Viridian Prime, Velmoth tried to call an emergency session to discuss the crisis. But half the delegates were dealing with emergencies on their own worlds. The carefully balanced galactic civilization that had stood for millennia was starting to crack. It had taken humanity only 50 years to become essential to everything. Now, after just 3 weeks of withdrawal, the galaxy was beginning to understand exactly what that meant. Thek sat in his office, staring at a message he had typed but not sent. He was amphibian, a mid-level administrator who had worked with humans on agricultural projects. A human named Jinsu had taught him new farming techniques that doubled crop yields on 3 colony worlds. They had become friends, real friends, sharing meals and stories. The message on his screen said, "Please come back. We were wrong. I am sorry. Please come back. Please come back." But his government had forbidden any unauthorized contact with humanity. And even if he sent it, would Jinsu respond? Would any human respond? Thex deleted the message and went back to work, trying to solve problems that used to be easy. When humans were helping, everything was harder now. Everything took longer. And he had a terrible feeling it was only going to get worse. Kyung-soo worked in a small office on Earth, monitoring galactic communications. His job was to listen, to watch, to understand what was happening out there now that humanity had withdrawn. 6 months had passed since the walkout, and the reports flooding his screens painted a grim picture. He compiled his daily briefing for the Earth government, organizing the information by severity. Medical crises first, then economic collapse, then military threats. Finally, the political chaos. Every category was worse than the day before. The plague had started on a mining colony in the Drexian sector. At first, nobody paid attention. Small outbreaks happened sometimes. But this was not small. Within 2 weeks, 3 entire colonies were infected. Within a month, 14 worlds reported cases. The symptoms were horrible. Fever, internal bleeding, system failure. The mortality rate was 60%. Hae-won read the reports from her home on Earth. She had been a medic, stationed on relief ships that responded to medical emergencies across the galaxy. She knew this plague. Humans had encountered it 8 years ago and developed a suppression protocol. It was not a cure, but it kept the disease manageable. Human medical teams had been administering the treatment across dozens of worlds, preventing outbreaks before they started. But now those teams were gone. The suppression protocol was in human medical databases, locked and encrypted. Nobody else had access. Her communicator chimed. An unauthorized message from an old colleague, a Quellan doctor named Vess. The message was desperate. Hae-won, please. Millions are dying. We need the suppression protocol. We need your help. I am begging you. Hae-won stared at the message for a long time. She remembered Vess, a good doctor, a decent person. But Vess had sat silent when the council voted against humanity. Vess had said nothing when humans were labeled too dangerous to practice medicine freely. She typed a response. The council declared humans unfit to participate in galactic medical services without supervision. I am respecting their decision. I am too dangerous to help. 4. The Verd. 4. Vaste apses. The Verd 4. 4. The Verd. She sent the message and turned off her communicator. Then she sat in her quiet apartment and cried for all the people she could save, but would not. The scourge had always been a problem. Nomadic raiders who attacked colonies on the frontier, taking what they wanted and leaving destruction behind. But for the past decade, they had been contained. Human defensive networks had mapped their movements and predicted their attacks. Human tactical coordination had helped alien fleets respond effectively. The scourge lost more battles than they won, and they stayed in the outer sectors where pickings were easier. Now, with humans gone, the scourge grew bold. They struck deeper into civilized space. Their raids were more successful. They captured entire systems and held them. The Talon Imperium sent their third battle group to retake a conquered colony. It was a powerful force. 20 warships with experienced crews. They had fought alongside humans before, and won every engagement. This time, without human tactical support, they lost. Badly. 16 ships destroyed. 4 captured. Thousands dead. The scourge now had Talon military technology. Kyung-soo added that to his report. The scourge now controlled territory equivalent to a small empire. They had fleets, resources, and momentum. And nobody seemed able to stop them. The economy was collapsing. Kyung-soo could see it in the data. Trade routes that humans had maintained were now dangerous. Ships got lost. Pirates attacked convoys. Travel times tripled. Insurance costs skyrocketed. Some routes closed entirely. Agricultural worlds that had adopted human farming techniques were struggling. The techniques worked, but they required specific maintenance and adjustments. Without human advisors, yields were dropping. On 3 worlds, people were going hungry. On 2 more, actual famine had begun. Industrial worlds that depended on human-designed efficiency systems were falling behind on production quotas. Energy plants operated at reduced capacity. Manufacturing slowed. Supply chains broke down. Kyung-soo pulled up an economic model that a human analyst had created 6 months ago, predicting what would happen if humans withdrew completely. The analyst had been called an alarmist at the time. Now his predictions were proving conservative. The reality was worse than anyone had imagined. Vren sat in his chambers, reading reports until his eyes hurt. He was one of the council members who had voted against humanity. He had been certain it was the right decision. Humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable, too different. Better to keep them controlled until they learned to fit in properly. Now his homeworld was one of the 14 planets dealing with the plague. His government was demanding answers. Why was there no medicine? Where were the medical teams? Vren had no good answers. He could not tell them that humans had the cure because admitting that meant admitting he had been wrong. He drafted a statement blaming human vindictiveness for the crisis. Then he deleted it. Even he could not quite believe that anymore. The humans had not sabotaged anything. They had not attacked anyone. They had simply left, taking their knowledge and support with them. The council had told them to stay away, and they were respecting that decision. Vren pulled up the voting record from 6 months ago. 41 delegates had voted for the restrictions on humanity. Only 7 had abstained. None had voted against. It had seemed so clear at the time. Now he wondered if they had made the greatest mistake in council history. Thex finally sent his message to Jin-soo. He broke every rule doing it, routing it through 3 different systems to hide its origin. The message was simple. I am sorry. We need you. Please, help us. He waited for 3 days. No response came. He sent another message. Still nothing. It was from an automated Earth system. Your message has been received and logged. Humanity is no longer participating in galactic affairs. Please direct all inquiries to your local council representative. Maybe TPP, ATC, Inquire, Unrender. Thex put his head in his hands. They were not even reading the messages. Earth had automated the rejection. Humanity had moved on. The council held an emergency session. Only 30 delegates managed to attend. The others were dealing with crises on their homeworlds. Velmoth stood at the center platform, looking older and more tired than Kyungsoo had ever seen in the surveillance footage. "We must address the situation," Velmoth said. "The plague spreads daily. The scourge controls 12 systems. Trade has contracted by 40%. 3 member species are facing economic collapse. We need solutions." Velmoth. 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 Said. Krisha clicked her mandibles. "The obvious solution is to recall the humans. Negotiate new terms. They will not respond to our messages," Velmoth said heavily. "Earth has closed all diplomatic channels. Our ambassadors are not permitted into human space. They have isolated themselves completely. Then we force them to return," suggested a Talon delegate. "Send a military expedition to Earth. Make them help." The chamber erupted in argument. Some supported the idea. Others called it madness. Kyungsoo listened to the debate and shook his head. They still did not understand. Even now, facing catastrophe, they thought they could force humanity to do what they wanted. A Drexian delegate stood. "Perhaps we should acknowledge our error, send a formal apology, offer them full membership without conditions." "Absolutely not," Velmoth said sharply. "The Council does not admit mistakes. It would undermine our authority." "What authority?" The Drexian shot back. "Half the galaxy is falling apart. Our authority means nothing if civilization collapses." Authority. 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 Means nothing if civilization collapses. The argument raged for hours. In the end, they decided to send another diplomatic message to Earth, a carefully worded request for dialogue, offering minor concessions while maintaining that the Council's original concerns had been legitimate. Kyungsoo watched the message get sent. He already knew what the response would be. He had seen it dozens of times now. Earth's automated system would log the message and send a polite rejection, and the Council would learn nothing. He finished his daily report and sent it to President Minji. At the bottom, he added a personal note. "They are breaking, but they are not ready to accept our terms yet. Pride is a slow poison." Minji read his report in her office. Around her, advisors debated how long to wait. Some argued for reaching out, helping to prevent complete collapse. Others insisted that humanity had to stand firm. G1 was there. Now a general. She spoke with quiet certainty. "We gave them 3 years to do the right thing. They chose pride over partnership. Now, they are learning the cost of that choice. We hold firm. When they are ready to accept us as equals, truly equals, then we will talk. Not before." Minji nodded slowly. It was hard watching civilizations suffer, but giving in now would mean nothing had changed. Humanity would be right back where they started, begging for respect they deserved. "We wait," she said. "We let the galaxy learn its lesson." 1 year had passed since Taemin walked out of the council chamber. He stood in President Minji's office now, looking at reports that painted a picture of galactic civilization on the edge of collapse. The plague death toll had reached 300 million. The scourge controlled 47 systems. 5 species were in the middle of civil wars. Economic output had fallen by 60% across most of the galaxy. And still, the council refused to accept humanity's terms. Minji sat behind her desk, reading the latest diplomatic message from the council. It was the 8th one this month. Each message offered slightly better terms than the last, but none of them gave humanity what it deserved. Full membership, equal representation, recognition as partners, not subjects. "They are offering supervised partnership now," Minji said, disgust in her voice. "Supervised. As if we are children who need watching." Taemin had expected nothing better. They still do not understand. They think this is a negotiation, where they can offer us slightly less terrible terms and we will accept. They do not realize we have already won. Have we? Minji asked. I see their suffering in these reports. Millions dead. Civilizations falling. Is this winning? We did not cause this, Taemin reminded her gently. We offered partnership. We offered help. They chose pride and fear instead. What is happening now is the consequence of their choice, not ours. Outside Earth, humanity was thriving. Human colonies expanded into territory that failing alien civilizations had abandoned. So Hyun governed one of these new colonies on a world the Drexians had left behind. The planet was beautiful, with vast oceans and perfect weather. The Drexians had abandoned it because their economy could not support distant colonies anymore. So Hyun stood on the balcony of her administration building, watching construction robots build new housing. 5,000 humans lived here now, with another 10,000 arriving next month. They grew their own food, manufactured their own equipment, built their own infrastructure. They did not need the galactic economy. They had each other. Her assistant brought her the daily news from galactic space. More plague deaths. Another scourge victory. 2 more planets on the edge of starvation. So Hyun read it all and felt a complicated mixture of sadness and vindication. She had friends out there, good people suffering through no fault of their own, but those good people had stayed silent when humanity needed them. Do you think they will ever accept our terms? Her assistant asked. Eventually, So-hyun said, when the alternative is complete collapse, when pride finally breaks under the weight of reality. That breaking point was approaching. Kyung-soo could see it in the intelligence reports. 3 species were on the verge of internal collapse. The Talon Imperium had lost a quarter of its territory to the Scourge and internal rebellion. The Hive Collective was fragmenting as different Hive Queens fought for scarce resources. The Drexian Federation had seen its government overthrown twice in the past month. The council barely functioned anymore. Delegates stopped attending because their homeworlds needed them more. The grand vision of galactic unity was crumbling into desperate survival. And then Kelvor arrived at Earth. He was the new council speaker, elected after Velmoth resigned in disgrace. Kelvor was younger, a Quellan who had always argued for better treatment of humanity. But he had also voted for the restrictions a year ago. He had been part of the problem. Now he came to Earth leading a delegation of 12 ambassadors, representing what remained of effective council authority. They arrived in a ship that looked worn and poorly maintained. Even their technology was failing now. Earth made them wait. For 3 days, Kelvor's delegation sat in orbit while their requests for an audience went unanswered. It was petty, perhaps, but Taemin thought it necessary. The council needed to understand that humanity operated on human terms now. Finally, on the 4th day, they were granted permission to land. Not in Geneva, where the Earth government sat, but in Seoul, at a secondary diplomatic facility. Another small reminder that things had changed. Taemin met them in a simple conference room. No grand chambers, no ceremonial displays, just a table, chairs, and 2 sides that needed to talk. Kelvor looked exhausted. His skin had a grayish tone that suggested illness or stress. The other delegates looked no better. These were people watching their civilization die. Ambassador Taemin, Kelvor began. Thank you for seeing us. Speaker Kelvor, Taemin replied neutrally. You requested dialogue. We are listening. Kelvor pulled up a display showing the council's new proposal. We have come to offer a compromise. Humanity will be granted full membership on the council with equal voting rights. In return, we ask that you resume your previous support activities: medical assistance, trade route maintenance, military cooperation. We recognize that we made errors in judgment, and we hope to move forward together. Taemin read the proposal carefully. It was better than previous offers. Much better. Full membership was there. Finally. But other things were missing. Where is the apology? Taemin asked. The what? The formal apology. The public acknowledgement that the Council was wrong to treat humanity as dangerous subjects rather than equal partners. Where is it? Kelvor shifted uncomfortably. The Council believes it is more productive to focus on future cooperation rather than dwelling on past disagreements. Disagreements, Ji-won said from her seat beside Taemin. She had been silent until now. You call it disagreements. You called us dangerous. You tried to force genetic monitoring on our people. You demanded we limit our population and surrender our sovereignty. And now, you want to pretend those were just disagreements? General Ji-won, please understand our position. If the Council formally apologizes, it undermines our authority with other species. It suggests weakness. You are weak, Ji-won said bluntly. Half your civilization is collapsing. The Scourge controls territory you can never retake. Millions are dying from a plague we could stop. You are weak because you chose pride over wisdom. An apology does not create weakness. It acknowledges reality. Taemin held up a hand, silencing Ji-won. Our terms have not changed, Speaker Kelvor. Full membership with equal status. Reparations for the resources and knowledge we shared freely that the Council refused to compensate, and a formal public apology acknowledging the Council's errors. These terms are not negotiable. Reparations? Kelvor looked shocked. We cannot afford reparations. Our economy is destroyed. Then you have a choice to make, Minji said, entering the room. Everyone stood as the Earth President walked in. Accept our terms, and we will help you rebuild. Refuse them, and watch your civilization fade into history. We will not beg for the privilege of saving you. She sat at the head of the table. Let me be very clear, Speaker Kelvor. We do not need you. Human civilization is growing and prospering. We have everything we require. But you need us, desperately. So the question is not whether we will help. The question is whether you have the courage to admit you were wrong. Kelvor looked at his fellow delegates. Some nodded slowly. Others looked angry. The Talon delegate stood up. This is extortion. You are holding our suffering hostage to force humiliating concessions. No, Taemin said calmly. You are suffering because you made bad decisions. We are simply stating the price for our assistance. You are free to refuse and seek solutions elsewhere. There are no solutions elsewhere, the Talon delegate shouted. You know that. You are the only ones who can help. Then accept our terms. The delegation argued among themselves in their various languages. The translation devices struggled to keep up. Finally, Kelvor silenced them. We need time to discuss this with our governments, he said. These terms are significant. We cannot accept them without proper consultation. You have 1 week, Minji said. After that, this offer expires. We have colonies to build and our own civilization to develop. We will not wait forever for you to find your courage. The delegation left, looking shell-shocked. Taemin watched their ship depart from the observation deck. Ji-won joined him. They will accept, she said confidently. Perhaps, Taemin said. But pride is a powerful force. Some species would rather die than admit error. Then they will die, Ji-won said without emotion. And the galaxy will remember who chose pride over survival. In galactic space, the crisis continued to worsen. Another 20 million died from the plague. The Scourge conquered 3 more systems. 2 additional species descended into civil war. The clock was ticking, and every day of delay cost more lives. Kelvor returned to Viridian Prime and called an emergency council session. Only 19 delegates attended. He presented humanity's terms to them without sugarcoating anything. The debate was fierce. Some delegates wanted to accept immediately. Others refused on principle. Some argued they should try military action against Earth. Others called that suicide. The vote came down to a split decision. 10 for acceptance, 9 against. Not enough. Council decisions required a 2/3 majority. They were deadlocked, lake fine, and the galaxy continued to burn while they argued about pride. 18 months after the walkout, the Drexian Federation collapsed completely. Their government fell apart. Their military disintegrated. Their colonies went silent. 4 billion Drexians were left leaderless in the middle of a galactic crisis. It was the first complete civilization failure since the Council was founded 3,000 years ago. The shockwaves reached every corner of the galaxy. If the Drexians could fall, any species could fall. The illusion of galactic stability shattered completely. Kelvor watched it happen from Viridian Prime. He had spent the past week trying to convince holdout delegates to accept humanity's terms. The Drexian collapse gave him the argument he needed. He called one final council session. 7 delegates attended in person. Another 8 joined by hologram. The rest could not be reached. The Grand Council chamber that once held hundreds now echoed with emptiness. "We are out of time," Kelvor said simply. "The Drexians are gone. The Hive Collective will be next. Then the Talon Imperium. Then, the rest of us. We can watch our civilization die because we are too proud to admit error. Or we can accept reality and survive. I am calling for a vote." "We already voted," the Talon delegate said bitterly. "We were deadlocked. That was before the Drexians fell. That was before we lost an entire founding member of this council. I am asking each of you, what is your pride worth? Is it worth billions of lives? Is it worth the end of everything we built?" The Quellan delegate spoke up. "If we accept these terms, we admit the humans were right. We admit we failed. Our populations will lose faith in us. Our populations are dying," Kelvor said. "They do not care about our pride. They care about medicine for the plague. They care about food for their children. They care about protection from the scourge. We failed them the moment we chose to reject humanity as equals. Now, we can either admit that failure and fix it, or we can maintain our dignity while everything burns." The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, the Talon delegate stood. "I change my vote. Accept humanity's terms. All of them. One by one, the others followed. Even those who had argued most strongly against humanity recognized there was no other path. When the final vote was counted, it was unanimous. 15 delegates voted to accept, 0 against, 4 abstained. The rest were unreachable. Kelvor sent the message to Earth immediately. 3 words that marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. "We accept unconditionally." Taemin received the message in the middle of the night. He read it twice, to be sure he understood correctly. Then, he called President Minji. "They accepted," he said. "Everything. Full membership. Reparations. Public apology. Everything." Minji was silent for a moment. "Then we have work to do." Within hours, Earth mobilized. Medical ships launched toward plague worlds. Military fleets deployed toward scourge territory. Engineers and scientists boarded transport vessels headed for collapsing infrastructure. Agricultural advisors prepared to help starving planets. The machinery of human assistance that had been silent for 18 months roared back to life. But this time, it was different. This time, humans went as equals and leaders, not as helpers begging for scraps of respect. Haywan was on the first medical ship to reach the Quellan homeworld. The plague had hit them hard. Hospitals overflowed. Bodies filled temporary morgues. The population was terrified and dying. She set up her medical station in what used to be a school. Her team of 20 human doctors and nurses worked 18-hour shifts, administering the suppression protocol and treating symptoms. Vess was there, the Quellan doctor who had begged for her help months ago. "Thank you for coming," Vess said quietly. "I know you have no reason to forgive us." "I am not here for forgiveness," Haywan said as she prepared another dose of medicine. "I am here because people are dying, and I can help. But Vess, understand this. Things have changed. We work together now as equals. No more supervision. No more restrictions. No more humans being treated as dangerous outsiders. That era is over. Vess nodded. I understand. And I am sorry. For what it is worth, I truly am sorry. Hei-Wan looked at him. She saw genuine regret in his expression. Then, help me save your people. We have a lot of work to do. G1 commanded the fleet that moved against the Scourge. 50 human warships, supported by whatever alien vessels could be scraped together. The Scourge had grown comfortable with victory. They controlled vast territory and believed themselves unstoppable. The first battle lasted 6 hours. Human tactics, human coordination, human strategy. The Scourge lost 12 ships and retreated in confusion. They had never faced an enemy this organized. The second battle was even more decisive. The Scourge threw everything they had at the human fleet. G1's forces destroyed them methodically, efficiently, without mercy. By the end of the week, the Scourge had lost half their fleet and abandoned 15 systems. G1 stood on her command deck, watching enemy ships flee into deep space. Her communication officer looked up. Admiral, the Talon fleet commander is requesting to speak with you. The Talon appeared on screen. It was the same commander whose fleet had been destroyed a year ago. General G1, on behalf of the Talon Imperium, I thank you for your assistance. Your tactics are extraordinary. They are the same tactics we used when we fought beside you before, G1 said. Nothing has changed except your willingness to listen. Everything has changed, the commander corrected. We have learned the cost of pride. It is a lesson we will not forget. Young Ho was a colonist, but he volunteered to help with reconstruction efforts. He arrived on a Drexian world where the government had collapsed and chaos reigned. Human engineers were setting up emergency infrastructure. Power, water, communications. Young Ho's job was to coordinate with local populations and make sure aid reached those who needed it most. He met a Drexian elder named Kess in a refugee camp. Kess had been a government official before the collapse. Now he helped distribute food rations. Why are you helping us? Kess asked. After everything we did to your people. Because you need help, Young Ho said simply. And because we are better than the people who rejected us. We will not let innocent people suffer because their leaders made mistakes. Kess was quiet for a moment. Your people are remarkable. We feared you because you were different. Because you did not fit our expectations. We were fools. Yes, Young Ho agreed. You were. But fools can learn. That is what separates the wise from the dead. Taemin returned to Viridian Prime 3 months after humanity's re-engagement with the galaxy. The station was different now. Cleaner, more organized. Human efficiency had spread through its systems like medicine through a sick body. The council chamber had been reorganized too. Humanity now had a permanent seat at the center table. Equal to any other species. More than equal. Everyone knew humanity had saved the galaxy. Kelvor greeted Taemin personally. Ambassador, welcome home. This was never home, Taemin said. But perhaps it can be now. If the council truly changes, it has changed, Kelvor assured him. 3 species have already applied for membership using the standards humanity established. The old ways, the old assumptions about age and tradition granting wisdom, those are gone. We are rebuilding based on merit and contribution. The formal ceremony happened that evening. The council gathered with over 100 delegates present, the highest attendance in 2 years. Today marks a new beginning for galactic civilization, he said. Today we formally acknowledge errors made by this council. Humanity came to us in friendship, offering partnership and knowledge. They asked only for respect and equality. We denied them both. We called them dangerous when they were only different. We called them unpredictable when they were only innovative. We tried to control them, Instead of embracing them, he paused, looking around the chamber. The cost of our pride was measured in millions of dead, in collapsed civilizations, in suffering that could have been prevented. We allowed fear to guide us instead of wisdom. Today, we apologize to humanity and to all those who suffered because of our failures. The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, every delegate stood. One by one, they spoke. The Talon delegate apologized for her species' hostility. The Quellan delegate apologized for his silence. Even species that had stayed neutral apologized for not speaking up. When they finished, Taemin stood. He looked around at faces that had once rejected humanity. Faces that now looked to humanity for salvation. "We accept your apology," he said quietly. "Not because you have earned forgiveness, but because forgiveness is how we move forward." The galaxy paid a terrible price for this lesson. Billions died. Civilizations fell. Let us make sure their sacrifice meant something. Let us build a galaxy where respect is given freely, where partnership is based on equality, and where no species is ever again judged by fear rather than by deeds. The chamber erupted in agreement. The human era had begun. 6 months later, So-hyun stood in her colony, watching the news from galactic space. The plague was under control. The scourge had been pushed back to the outer rim. Trade was recovering. Civilization was rebuilding. And everywhere, human influence was visible. Not domination. Partnership. Her assistant brought her a message. "Governor, the Council has requested you lead a joint task force on colonial development. They want human expertise to help rebuild failed colonies." So-hyun smiled. "Tell them I will consider it. On humanity's terms." We humanity's terms. In a school on the Talon homeworld, a young Talon student asked her teacher about the crisis. "Why did the humans leave? Why did we suffer?" The teacher chose her words carefully. "We forgot that strength without respect is tyranny. We forgot that partnership without equality is slavery. We believed our age and tradition made us superior. But the humans taught us that wisdom is not inherited. It is earned. We paid dearly for that lesson, young one. Billions paid with their lives. The humans could have let us die. Instead, they saved us. But they made sure we understood. Never again would they accept being treated as lesser. And never again will we forget what happens when pride blinds us to truth." The student thought about that. "Are humans the leaders now?" "No," the teacher said. "They are partners. Finally, truly, partners." Taemin sat in his office on Viridian Prime, looking at reports of reconstruction and renewal. The galaxy was healing. It would take years, maybe decades, to fully recover. But it would recover, and it would be different, better. Ji-won visited him that evening. "Do you think they learned?" she asked. "Do you think this will last?" Taemin considered the question. "Probably not forever. Pride is a powerful force. But for now, yes. This generation remembers what happened when they rejected us. They will teach their children. And perhaps that will be enough." "And if it is not?" Ji-won asked. Taemin smiled slightly. "Then they will learn the lesson again. Humanity is patient. We can wait. And we will never again accept being treated as anything less than equals." Outside his window, ships from 100 species moved through space, working together to rebuild civilization. Human ships were among them, not separate, but integrated. Not supervised, but leading. The galaxy had paid a terrible price for its lesson, but it had learned. And humanity had ensured that the cost was not paid in vain.